It's the Cool Kids Club. You've been invited to the Cool Kids Club. It's so exciting, yeah. Justin likes monsters, yeah. And Amy likes words in the Cool Kids Club. Cool Kids Club.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode number 4 of the Cool Kids Club podcast. I am one of your hosts, Justin.
I am your other host, Amy.
That's right. You did a much better job at that intro than I did on the last one. I just want to give you credit.
Oh, thank you.
I threw it to you and it was smooth.
Yeah.
Unlike me, who kind of flubbed it.
And then I caught it. Yeah. It was a good catch.
Yeah.
You fumbled it a bit. Yeah, you fumbled a bit last time.
We're mixing our sports metaphors.
I know.
But
I know
as you will learn as we get on in the show and you get to know us, not really sports people.
No, we're not really athletic, nor do we really enjoy. I mean, sports are fine. Nothing against sports. I just I don't play them and I don't watch them. So
well, there we go.
Yeah.
But you know what we do watch?
What?
Is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because that is the topic of today's episode, and I could not be more excited. This is a big one for me.
Yeah, this is big for Justin. If there are two things that I associate with Justin as a kid, it is wrestling and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh, and the Titanic. He was obsessed with the Titanic as a kid, but that to a lesser degree.
I want to do an episode about the Titanic, because that would be weird for this kind of like nostalgia.
But they found it
where we're talking about. I know.
Yeah,
but they're talking about pop culture and television and books.
Let's talk about
music and fashion.
Shipwreck.
But let's talk about
1912.
like an 85-year-old shipwreck that I was obsessed with for the better part of a decade.
Obsessed.
I would say.
It was. Yeah.
It still haunts me a bit. But I've learned to live with it.
Yeah. We're not talking about the movie Titanic. We are talking about
not
the actual
movie.
Shipwreck.
The ship.
What year did they find it? It was when we were kids, right?
In the
so that
80s,
was.
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that was why there was such like a resurgence of interest in the Titanic in the 90s. And you were
probably.
You were on board.
I like your wordplay. First of all, that was good.
Yeah.
And I mean,
those are the things I would associate with you.
It haunts my existence, and it calls out to me from the briny depths. It always has. So,
we're off topic already.
This has nothing to do.
This is not a Titanic podcast, but it could be.
But it could be.
There's always a chance it could turn into a Titanic podcast.
That's true of any project I work on.
It's
could
true.
End up being about the Titanic, but this is not. This is about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and more specifically, today on the Cool Kids Club podcast, we're talking about the original television show, the original animated series that began in 1987, and we'll get into that in a second. This is going to be. I sort of envision this as the first of a series of Ninja Turtle episodes, because I think that the Ninja Turtles... This is
merely the first installment in many.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. These won't be back-to-back, so if Ninja Turtles is not your thing, don't worry. The next, 5 episodes aren't going to be Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So, I think that Ninja Turtles as a topic, for as big as it was to me and a whole lot of people who are probably listening to this, I think it's too big of a topic for one episode that we would like to keep at an hour.
Yeah.
So, I think down the road, there'll probably be an episode dedicated to the movies.
Yeah.
I want to do an episode dedicated to merch, and I want to do an episode dedicated to video games. Today we're kind of kicking off our oral history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as it were, with the original cartoon. But before we get into that, what have you been into? Let's talk.
Gosh, what have
let's
I been into?
scuttlebutt. Let's jib jab.
Little scuttle, little butt.
Little scuttle, little butt.
Jib jab, jib
just
jab.
for a minute. Now, we did just pass half Halloween.
Yes, which is a holy holiday in our family.
It's a thing for us.
We've been celebrating truly with a little get together, half Halloween, for probably 6 or 7 years now.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
Which is to say, like, our immediate family, like Justin and I, our spouses, and our mom. We've gotten our mom in on it, which I think is very cute. She likes to wear, she has some Halloween leggings. She likes to wear those to have Halloween. She gets in the spirit. And basically, since it's usually end of May or end of April, beginning of May, we do a cookout usually. The main dish of which is jack-o'-lantern burgers, cheeseburgers.
Yes.
Which you
do an excellent job of carving, as it were, jack-o'-lantern faces into slices of American cheese.
Yes.
It's weird that that you have that skill. But
I know.
Really
it's
do.
a very, I feel like I should put it on my resume.
They're always perfect.
They're perfectly imperfect, just like a jack-o'-lantern should be.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. They look like a 34-year-old woman who only does it once a year carved them. But yeah, so I use a toothpick and I carve it out of American cheese, and then we put it on the burgers, and they are delightful. And then we always do like orange foods, like Cheetos and Doritos.
It's a lot of cheese things.
It's a lot of orange things. We do stuff that's not
again going back to the not really sports player.
Yeah. We don't get together for like the Super Bowl. Just
a lot of cheese on the menu. But we also did one of my favorite pastimes, which is finding these old commercial compilations.
Oh my God!
On YouTube,
yeah.
there's so many of them. And finding some Halloween themed ones and just watching. Yeah. There's something very comforting, and it's just ironic. We spent all of those years wanting to fast forward through commercials and skip commercials, and now that's all I want to see. I just find them just endlessly entertaining.
It just takes you right back to a moment in time.
And there's some really great ones.
Yeah, we can link YouTube. Some actually if you're interested as well.
For holiday ones, you can't go wrong with Dinosaur Dracula.
Yeah, definitely.
The Haunted Drive-In is another one of my favorites, and I'm gonna talk him into being on the show when we talk about the Tom and Jerry Halloween special here in 6 months.
Ooh, definitely. Well, Justin brings up the commercials because we watch them on Half Halloween, so it's never too early.
Well, yeah.
To watch a Halloween commercial compilation, but I thought
that's what I always say.
That's my motto. Well, are you ready to go down in the sewers? And
I think we hop in the turtle van.
Yeah.
We're gonna go down a big pipe.
Yeah. Naturally.
Through splash through a bunch of water. Go down to the lair. Kick back with a couple pizzas.
Couple of Zaws.
With some ridiculous toppings, and talk about one of my favorite television shows, one of my favorite cartoons of all time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I can't think of a better way to kick it off than by listening to that classic theme song, right?
God, it's a banger, Justin.
I mean, it's as iconic, I think, as television theme songs get, right?
It's so good.
Everyone knows that
that and The Nanny. There's the top two best theme songs ever.
Well, let's
listen.
Let's kick it off. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 1987.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, heroes in a half shell, turtle power. They're the world's most fearsome fighting team.
We're really hip.
They're heroes in the half shell, and they're green.
Hey, get a grip.
When the evil Shredder attacks, these turtle boys don't cut 'em no slack. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Splinter taught them to be ninja teens.
He's a radical rat.
Leonardo leads Donatello does machines.
That's a fact, Jack.
Raphael is cool but rude.
Give me a break.
Michelangelo is a party dude. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in a half shell, turtle power.
Heroes in a half shell,
Turtle power.
Amy, turtle power.
Now that sound clip might actually go in.
What?
Us saying turtle power together.
No, I was hoping it would. Yes. Turtle power.
I know you're going to go over this probably, but I want you to go ahead and tell us that interesting tidbit about this theme song that you told me yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
I know
I don't know
it's
that,
in our notes, but...
I don't think I knew this, that iconic theme song that we just listened to. One of the two composers of that was Chuck Lorre, like famous, one of the most successful television producers of all time, no matter what you may think of his shows. Shows like 2.5 Men and Big Bang Theory. One of the most successful TV producers of all time. Wrote and performs the speaking parts, apparently.
Who knew he had such a secret talent for writing just fucking bangers?
Just absolute bangers about turtles.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Well, that's all I got.
Well, I just wanted to... I thought that was interesting when you told me that yesterday.
No, that's it. That's the show.
That's the show. All right, guys. Well, it's been real.
We're going to dive into this a little bit. And before we talk about the show proper, I think we kind of... Because that was not the beginning of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And,
right, yeah.
Yeah, because it was created, actually... It was created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird in 1984 when they published their own single issue. They were trying to do almost like a parody of Daredevil and New Mutants, and that sort of thing was really popular at the time. And Frank Miller's Ronin was another one that clearly, influenced it, and had a much different tone and much different style than what we would see in the TV shows. Much darker.
I was going to say they were a lot darker, weren't they?
Yeah, the entire origin story is different.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And yes, much more violent, darker. There's cursing, which is all awesome.
Cursing?
But when they wanted to sort of by the mid 80s, so that the first issue comes out in 84, and by 86 it had kind of gained this a sizable cult following, but still a cult following. To the point where there were a bunch of other attempts to capitalize with these little independent comics, which I think is there's some good ones. Like one of my favorite things is when you have something that gets really, really popular really quickly. In this case, the Ninja Turtles. You always have a bunch of imitators, and these aren't necessarily imitators because these are kind of tongue-in-cheek parody, sort of.
Oh, so these are definitely... They're not just trying to...
Well, they are.
Oh, okay.
They are, and they all, of course, failed. And
sure.
So the original Ninja Turtles comic was in black and white, and it kind of created a little mini boom of black and white style comics in the mid 80s. So I'm going to list a couple of these just because they're really good.
Sweet names.
And I'll actually start with the last one here on my list because it's the least fun, which is Karate Creatures. Creatures spelled with a K.
I was going to say, please note that Creatures spelled with a K.
Of course. So that's kind of the most tame one. Next up, we have Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters.
That sounds like an Arctic Monkeys song. Totally.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Several of
these actually all do.
They all do.
I was going to say this next one. Preteen Dirty Jean Kung Fu Kangaroos.
Yep. That's great.
Yeah.
These are preteen, too.
Preteen.
Yeah. That's like an 11-year-old.
These are like tweens.
Yeah.
And finally, we have adult thermonuclear samurai elephants, which is just wonderful.
I think that's really so funny that they, because it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we have adolescent, preteen, and adult. They wanted to, what does it matter? Right. It doesn't matter.
Well, yeah.
I mean, just put thermonuclear samurai elephants. Did I need to know they were adults?
To capitalize on something,
Yeah, for sure.
So you have this really big cult following, and you have this gentleman, Mark Friedman, who approaches Eastman and Laird about merchandising, and he really thinks that the franchise sort of has potential. So in January '87, they meet with a small toy company that's trying to break into the action figure market, Playmates Toys. And Playmates they basically say, well, we're interested, but we don't think it's a big enough franchise. You're going to want to go ahead and have a TV deal
Right.
before we do anything. So if you get a TV deal, we'll make your toys for you.
You know, that's kind of odd because you're saying the comic books weren't necessarily for kids, right? But then you have someone who wants to make toys from it, and I imagine, how would you market toys to adults in 1987? You know, that's kind of strange. Like,
I think there was certainly been a market for that, but the way I sort of understand it is this Mark Friedman, he's a licensing agent and sees, you know, that this could change and expand and grow and become a bigger thing. It's got potential for that. So obviously Playmates is a toy company. Their audience is kids.
Sure.
So if they're going to do this, it obviously can't be the darker, more violent adult versions of the Turtles that you see in the comics. So a TV deal is acquired. The animation team, I'm going to see if I can get this. This is Murakami Wolf Swenson, which is headed by Fred Wolf. Was brought in, and together with Playmates marketing team. So this is going to be an ongoing theme throughout this episode if we're talking about the history of the show. This show was created to sell toys.
And a lot of shows at that time were.
A lot of them were.
Like
yes.
He-Man and stuff. Like
Transformers and shows like Thundercats and Masters of the Universe.
Yep.
I mean, these are shows that are created to market toys to kids. And, you know, when you got a hit, it could be very effective for a whole lot of people when you have a hit show and a hit toy line.
It's called synergy, Justin.
First of all, never badmouth
synergy.
Amy. We recommend, as we get further on into the podcast, like in the overall podcast, that you probably just go ahead and watch 30 Rock if you haven't. Because there will be copious references.
Yeah. And you might
We can't speak to each other without 30 Rock references.
It honestly, I think every time we speak to each other, there's at least one. And we talk a lot. Sure. So anyway, never badmouth synergy.
The original, you know, sort of what the Ninja Turtles were going to be, what this television show was going to be, was created in large part by Playmates Toys and their marketing team. I mean, they were essentially serving as executive producers and contributing writers to the show.
That's crazy.
And these guys are the ones who came up with catchphrases like Heroes in a Half Shell and Cowabunga and Turtle Power. I mean, this is the toy company marketing guys.
That's so cool.
In conjunction with this animation team that they hired. So initially, what they did was they created season 1.
Yeah.
What they did was they created a 5-episode miniseries, and that is season 1. It tells one story from beginning to end. They brought in a Japanese company called Toei. I don't know if that is the exact pronunciation.
Yeah, maybe.
I apologize if it's not. Animation Studios. David Wise and Patty Howarth wrote the miniseries, and so there's a lot of changes from
I imagine,
the Mirage comics. You know, in this 5-episode miniseries, we get the entire backstory, which is totally different. Like I said, from the Mirage comics one. You watched the miniseries.
I did.
Did you not?
I did. Now would be a good time to interject that I did watch this growing up. Like, Justin was very into it, and I would watch it with him. So I'm not quite as in the dark about this as maybe Justin was, you know, last time about Babysitter's Club. But I had not watched this show since I was a kid.
I rocked that episode. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you did. You were incredible. But yes, I just recently rewatched the 5-episode miniseries a couple nights ago. And first thought was, oh my God, this song rocks. I had forgotten how good it was. Second thought, I loved the animation. It's just so very 1987. And was honestly like kind of impressed with what they were doing in 1987. And I just thought it was really charming. I think you just get a great introduction to all the characters. It just does exactly what you want it to do. Introduces all the baddies, or most of the baddies. You know, the turtles all get, you know, their own personalities fleshed out a bit. You get to meet April. It was a lot of fun. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it features So again, hand in hand with the idea of we're doing a toy line.
Mm-hmm.
And we're creating this television show to hopefully sell toys.
Yep.
So the miniseries, this 5 episodes, that airs over the course of a week, beginning December 14th, 1987. And so it airs over 5 days. And then it would air a couple more times over the next few months, and before it really begins finding an audience. But I know for me, my introduction to the Turtles was not the cartoon; it was the toys.
Sure.
So this first airs in December 1987, airs a couple more times in the summer of 1988 is when Playmates releases the first line of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle action figures.
Okay.
And featuring all of the main characters, I think with the exception of Krang.
Krang.
So you had the 4 Turtles. You had Splinter. You had April O'Neil. You
Yep.
had Shredder, Bebop, Rocksteady, and a Foot Soldier,
Okay.
I believe. So that's kind of all your major characters outside of Krang. I love saying Krang.
I do too. That's also a 30 Rock thing.
Yes, of course. But my introduction, I remember as a kid, was the toys. I had not seen the cartoon, and I have a very specific memory of it was our mom, and I think she had flown up. I want to say she had flown home up to Massachusetts to go to maybe a class reunion.
Okay.
Or something along those lines, and came back, and then as you do with your kids when you go off on a trip, you bring them a present back.
Yeah.
Even though that I don't know if that's just what you do. I'm sure people still do that. And she brought me back the Leonardo and the Raphael action figures. I did not know what Ninja Turtles was, but I saw these figures and I saw that packaging. And they come with the the brown weapons, and they have the belts, and they've got the different color, bandanas or whatever, know, and these different weapons. And I remember the packaging, that bright green on brick,
Yes.
which was a big part of the look of the television show.
Yes.
It was just like I was like, wow, and then it just took off. From it. Like, it was like I had to.
That's so cool that you remember exactly getting those 2 toys.
I do, and I still have them.
Yep.
They are actually they're packed. Well, they're packed away, but they're in the room I'm in right now, along with all my other Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So I remember that, and it was for me. It was kind of off to the races. Like I would flip the on the back side, back card. You'd have the whole pictures of the whole line, and I remember they would have
you doing that very specifically.
And you'd have the pizza points you could cut out.
Oh God, yeah.
And you had your character card on the back.
Yep.
And then you had pictures of the entire line, and then it was just kind of off to the races from there. So I'm guessing summer of '88 is when it really kind of caught on for me. And was when it kind of caught on for everyone else. So they renew it for, well, you know what? We're getting ahead of ourselves, because I think if we have people who are listening to this who do not know some of the characters.
Yeah, we need to.
And the origin story, I feel like, so, probably a lot of you already know this stuff, but we're just going to take a kind of a brief, I think.
Just like with the Babysitters Club, some of you may just be tuning in just to hang with us, and you may not know, the 4 Turtles,
right?
And everybody else.
So this the backstory for the cartoon, as I said, is different from the Mirage comics. We're just talking about the television show. Okay. It sort of begins with Hamato Yoshi, who would later be known as Splinter. He was this ninja master in Japan who was banished from his clan, the Foot Clan. Yeah. After being set up by one of his students, the evil Oroku Saki. Right. So Hamato Yoshi, flees to New York, and as one does, begins living in the sewer with the rats.
Well, sure. It's like Charlie Kelly.
I'm sure. There were homeless shelters. I know. They had homeless shelters in the 80s.
But maybe he just preferred the sewers.
I guess
it's cool down there, It is
probably cool down there, yeah.
Maybe he's hot-blooded and and he just needed a place to stay cool. And then he befriended some of the rats, and he kept coming back. You know?
Right. So Hamato Yoshi's down in the sewer. He's living with the rats. He's banished. And meanwhile, back in Japan, the evil Orokusaki takes over the Foot Clan and turns it into this criminal organization, and he becomes increasingly kind of like world domination-y.
I feel like you could do like voiceovers for you're like you got really like, you know, deep there with Orokusaki.
Don't worry. There's going to be some voices later. I can tell you that.
Oh, good.
So, get ready.
Good. Okay.
Get ready.
Get ready.
Get ready. The next chapter in the story is an unnamed child is carrying again, as one does, a giant fish bowl full with 4 turtles in it. Trips and drops the turtles down the sewer grate into the sewer.
Who among us hasn't done that?
Who among? Am I to remember every set of turtles I've dropped
every set of turtles I have accidentally dropped down a sewer grate.
Through a sewer grate.
Yeah.
So Hamato Yoshi's down there in the sewer, and he finds these turtles, and they're covered in a mysterious green ooze. The ooze is the key to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this would later be attributed to Shredder. He put the ooze down there because he didn't know what it was. He thought it was just poisonous and was trying to kill Yoshi. But the ooze causes these little turtles to mutate into these humanoid creatures because the last creature they had been in contact with was a human.
Yes.
And it causes Yoshi to morph into a humanoid rat, because the rats were the last animal he had contact with.
I was going to say, why didn't he turn into a turtle? But I guess he had contact with a rat after.
I guess.
The turtle.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been as interesting.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been interesting if he was just an old turtle who couldn't do anything.
Aw, poor Splinter.
No, Splinter's great.
He is great.
The turtles grow up, and Yoshi becomes their father figure, mentor. He names them after his favorite Renaissance painters and trains them in the art of ninjutsu.
Naturally.
And they name him Splinter, the rat.
Why do they name him Splinter?
The real reason why they named him Splinter is because in the original comics, it was a it was a joke on Daredevil. There's like an old wise mentor character in Daredevil named Stick.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I always wondered that. I was like, this has nothing to do with him being a rat. I don't get it, but okay.
And the Foot Clan is a parody of another is a group of ninja assassins in Daredevil called the Hand.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So,
can I talk about the turtles?
I was just about to ask you
to
please tell us about the 4 turtles.
All right.
Let's dive into some of these characters.
Okay. So the 4 main turtles, the only turtles are Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo. So Leonardo in the 1987 cartoon was voiced by Cam Clark. And Leonardo is kind of the de facto leader of the group. He's level-headed, serious. He's real close to Splinter. He's a teacher's pet.
He is.
I mean, yeah, he's a real.
He's a narc.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's a goody
you'll see online people say a lot if Leonardo's your favorite, you're a cop. Because
and it's true.
It's very true. He's always like,
he's fine, but he can't be your favorite.
To be your favorite, yeah.
Your favorite, really?
Yeah, your favorite. His weapon of choice is swords. And he wears a blue bandana. So, he's fine. He's the least interesting of all of them. So, moving on to Donatello, who was voiced by Barry Gordon. Is that like the Barry Gordon? I don't know. Isn't that like Barry Gordon's Last Dragon? Am I making that up?
Just keep going.
Okay, maybe it is. All right, Donatello
I doubt it.
is the like sciencey one. He's real intellectual. He's an inventor.
He's a nerd.
Yeah, he's the nerd.
But we love him.
Yeah, he's a lovable nerd. In fact, in season 1, he is the one that builds the turtle van and the blimp.
He's always fiddling and building contraptions and mixing chemicals.
Yeah.
And, explosions in the lab.
Yeah, that's all Donatello stuff. Now, he wears purple, and he has a bow staff.
And frankly, that's kind of a weak-ass weapon. Like,
you think
so? I mean, it would hurt. I get it, but, like, I don't know.
That somebody couldn't whip a bow staff around and crack you with that, and it's not
No, I'm saying it would hurt. I guess weak-ass was the wrong... I don't know. It's just not as cool.
I mean, it's not going to slice you in half like a sword.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if he threw it hard enough.
Yeah.
And he might have in the comics. I don't know.
Maybe.
That he probably...
Maybe he sharpened one end of it and just stabbed someone with it.
That's a spear.
That's like a bayonet, yeah. Moving on. We have Raphael, who was voiced by Rob Paulson. Raphael is real, like, witty, sarcastic. It says in other media, like...
I apologize for the sirens.
Oh.
There's nothing I can do about it.
That's okay. So later on, he's sort of portrayed as, like, the angry, impulsive, violent one.
Well, he was never that in the cartoon.
Right, I'm saying like later on, like in other
in
forms
the movies
of
and in the comics. I mean, he's very violent and impulsive. He's the most like a teenager to me.
Yeah, I often
like he's
forget
really moody
that they
and
are
he's really angry
teenagers.
And has lots of issues.
Yeah,
and would rather like punch something.
Yeah,
than
like he would
with
probably be like a little goth maybe if he were in like a regular high school. Like he just like. He has a lot of feelings.
Well, clearly they bought weapons at probably the store in the mall.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was already kind of halfway one of those guys.
So Raphael wears red, and he wields 2 sai. Is that what those are called?
Sai, yes.
Sai. Are those little?
Those are good weapons.
Those
They're like 3-pronged.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. Now, my favorite, my personal fave, is Michelangelo. Always has been.
Okay.
That was voiced by Townsend Coleman in the cartoon, and he is super goofy. He's like the party animal, very like surfer dude, obsessed with pizza, even more than, I mean, all the turtles are obsessed with pizza, but he's like uber obsessed with it.
He's a stoner. He's a stoner. They can't say he's a stoner.
Like
he's a surfer dude.
He's like the Spinelli of the group. Yeah.
He's the California surfer dude.
Mm-hmm. Very laid back.
Smokes weed and just gets his nosh on.
Yeah, and just like, eats pizza all day. He wears orange, sometimes yellow, mostly orange though. And he has nunchucks, which I always thought was pretty badass.
It was, and a lot of countries in Europe did not think it was badass because there was actually a controversy about the show, and a controversy in particular about the Michelangelo character. So in several European countries, including the UK, the show itself was called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. Because the word ninja was like taboo, and ninja weapons, it was a big thing at the time with kids getting like ninja weapons and hurting each other and all of this, particularly with nunchucks. So like in the intro and in the show, they would edit out or edit around anything showing Michelangelo using nunchucks.
Oh my god.
Until in season 4, they replaced the nunchucks with a grappling hook.
Oh, okay.
Which I feel like is significantly less cool.
I thought maybe
nunchucks
they would
are
just,
about
like,
as cool as it gets.
They'd put like a rolled up newspaper in his hand or something, like really
They
poorly
gave
edited.
him some big long paper towel rolls. like wrapping paper rolls.
Yeah.
That
sounds about right.
So meanwhile,
those are the turtles.
Yes, those are the 4 turtles. So meanwhile, Oroku Saki takes on the name Shredder. Mm-hmm. Did you like that one?
Yeah, I liked it.
Shredder.
Oh.
Yes. So Shredder, that's kind of what he sounds like in the cartoon. He's always like, "You blasted fools, turtles."
Well, it's James Avery.
Yes.
Uncle Phil doing the voice.
Yes.
So yeah, very, very deep voice.
So Shredder travels to New York to find Yoshi and begins working with a disembodied brain from another dimension known as Dimension X, who goes by the name of Krang. Krang was a ruthless and cruel leader, ruled with an iron fist in Dimension X until he was stripped of his body. So he's just a brain with tentacles. And
he has eyeballs, doesn't he?
He does have eyeballs. Well,
and
he
like
has a mouth.
Then a mouth, yeah.
Yeah, because he talks, and it's a pretty great voice. And I don't know if
I don't know who voices him, but it's wonderful.
The Krang voice is like, you Shredder, get those blasted turtles.
God, that was
kind of like that.
That was unsettlingly accurate.
Yeah. So Krang,
for anyone wondering, the first 5 episodes are available on YouTube. Like, I think, legally.
Okay.
So if y'all want to go and watch at least that first mini,
I really recommend it because it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's one story.
Yeah.
All the way through, and it's about the length of a movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you watch all of it.
Yeah.
So Krang's sort of the money man, right?
Yeah.
So Krang has this big, giant weapon ship called the Technodrome that's kind of like the Ninja Turtles Death Star, sort of. It's big, and it's got the eyeball thing on top, and it rolls, and it's got the tank stuff, and all kinds of weapons and crazy technology from Dimension X. So Krang's kind of the money guy. Krang is like the guy that Shredder gets all his technology to fund his schemes and plots against the turtles and try to take over the world. So that's kind of Krang's purpose. Plus it opens up the door for all the weird kind of Dimension X type of characters that that end up coming over. But one of the main characters of the show, of course, is April O'Neil, who's sort of the through the eyes of the viewer. She's sort of discovering everything along with us, especially in these first couple of episodes, discovering what the turtles are.
And she's the only woman. They were probably like, there's too many men in this cast. You need to make someone a woman,
And April is a television reporter with Channel 6. And she befriends the turtles in season 1. She's investigating this crime wave tied to the Foot Clan and kind of becomes engulfed in the whole drama of the turtles and Splinter and Shredder.
Kind of reluctantly they just kind of keep coming back to her, and
and she becomes friends with them. Of course, April O'Neil's their main human ally, and supporter, and she helps protect them and helps them.
I mean, I would say April is just as big of a character as Splinter.
Yes.
Yes,
for sure.
Outside of the main 4, she's I would say it's them, April, Splinter, and Shredder are
those are the big ones.
Main ones. Yeah.
And them sort of making this sort of before we get into the story that they do in season 1 in this miniseries, the turtles kind of kept hidden down in the sewer for years, training in ninjutsu and eating pizza and all this. But after this, April is sort of their connection to the human world, and she sort of is the catalyst for them to sort of start doing this vigilante crime fighting thing.
Right.
So,
who are some of the other bad guys?
So the other bad guys, the 2 main henchmen, we've got Bebop and Rocksteady.
Love those names.
These are much. Oh, they're so good. Bebop and Rocksteady are classic. They're the big oafish henchmen. They're in the first several episodes they're still human. They're members of this street gang, very dumb but very strong. That sort of cartoonish thing, and then they are transformed as Shredder and Krang, are experimenting with mutagen. They create these mutants to battle the turtles. So they're transformed into a warthog and a rhino.
They're still humanoid, kind of, right?
Yeah, they're like the turtles.
Yeah.
I mean, they retain their personalities.
Yeah.
But now they're just in the form of these big giant warthogs
and one of them has a giant septum piercing, I remember.
Yes. Bebop and Rocksteady are kind of some of the main, Bebop and Rocksteady are just omnipresent. Yeah. They're always there. They're the main henchmen.
Yeah, they just get sent off to do the dirty work.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've also got Baxter Stockman, who would later in season 2 be transformed into a fly, but in the original season he's still a human. He's basically a mad scientist. He invents the Mousers and then kind of grows into a villain in and of himself.
Yeah, he wasn't really a villain there at the beginning. He was sort of getting manipulated by Shredder.
Right.
You know, but yeah.
But I love Baxter Stockman. He was always one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And I love when the cartoon has a great look when he turns into a fly. I love the look of his character. You also have you get introduced to the Channel 6 news staff, which would they would also sort of be omnipresent, both as allies like April O'Neil, and then you've got Irma, who's like the receptionist and April's best friend, and she gets involved in all of this, and then you've got Vernon and Bern Thompson, who are like the asshole, like the boss and the kiss ass reporter guy, who are always trying to like kind of fuck with April and
keep her from
mess up
getting
things
the story and all that.
Right. You also have introduced in this first season, you have the Rock Soldiers, General Trag, Granitor. These are like sentient rock soldiers from Dimension X who are loyal to Krang. You also have the Neutrinos.
Those were fun.
Love. Very 80s. Basically, it's they cruise around in a flying car. Yep. They're like hot rodding teenagers from Dimension X and like
very like Jetsons-y.
Yeah, but 80s.
But 80s, right?
But very 80s. So we're off to the races here. The summer of 1988, Playmates launches the first line of Ninja Turtle figures of almost all of the characters that we just talked about, the major ones. Season 2 begins in October 1988, and it's kind of off to the races. They bring on comic artist Jack Mendelson. He joins it as executive story editor and would end up writing like 70 episodes, over 70 episodes.
I was shocked at how many there are total. Like there's a lot of seasons, a lot of episodes. Yeah.
So it begins season 2, October 1st, 1988 on Saturday morning syndication. So, I mean, this is, classic 80s Saturday morning cartoons. Yeah. It is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're
picking up a lot of kids that they maybe didn't already.
Yeah, so it's a huge hit. In a year later, September 89, it expands to 5 days a week, which is why you see when you go to look at the episode numbers, you've got the first season, which is 5, the miniseries. You've got season 2, which I think is 13. And then it jumps to over 40.
Oh, my God. Because
they go to 5 days a week. They go to 5 days a week. It begins airing also on CBS Saturday mornings.
Wow.
In syndication, or then it also airs in afternoon syndication. So it airs afternoon syndications, CBS Saturday mornings. It's huge.
It's still like having new episodes. It's
huge. It just blew up. It became this huge pop culture phenomenon. And all of a sudden, there's merch everywhere, which is the whole reason why we're going to do episodes. There's just too much to talk about.
Yeah.
But we're going to stick with the show. It was during this time in these sort of early seasons. You also had in between episodes, so you would have the afternoon block, right, where you would have an hour, and it was 2 episodes. And between the episodes, they would have Turtle Tips.
Turtle Tips, yes.
Do you remember the Turtle Tips?
Yes, I do.
So these are like PSAs, right? And all these shows had PSAs too.
I know.
Like G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe, I was gonna say.
Yeah. Those are the most classic, but you had a lot of the of shows that did PSAs. I noticed a lot of the turtle ones from what I watched. A lot of them had to do with environmentalism and conservation and conserving the earth and protecting the earth and stuff. And, a lot of them seem to deal with that.
Maybe because I don't know. They live in a sewer. They're animals. I don't know. I'm trying to make a connection there. I don't know why, but that's cool.
They were transformed by some horrible chemical created by man.
That's true.
Where it shouldn't have been.
Exactly.
Polluting the environment.
That's right.
So there you go. And it's frankly as good advice in 2021 as it was in the 80s and 90s. Exactly. So I say we listen to a couple of these.
Yeah.
Because frankly, like I say Michelangelo's words reach through time. They are timeless.
And we don't mean the artist. Relevant. We mean the Ninja Turtle.
No, I don't mean the artist.
Yeah.
Of course I don't mean the artist.
Of course not.
All right.
Let's listen to some of them.
Well, I can't decide. Should we have the pizza with the marshmallows or the pizza with chili peppers?
Come on, Michelangelo, you're letting all the cold air out. That wastes electricity.
Electricity doesn't appear in the wall outlet by magic. It takes natural resources to make electricity.
Think with the door closed, then get what you want.
Okay, I'm thinking tonight we'll have broccoli.
Broccoli?
Just kidding, dudes. You gotta learn to keep your cool. Well, looks like the perfect time to get rid of this pile of old junk.
What? Get rid of my first skateboard?
Yeah, it's like recycling. There are lots of organizations that fix old toys and get them to kids who need them. Of course, if you really need your beat-up old skateboard, I understand.
What are we waiting for? Boy, Michelangelo, I'm glad I did this. It felt so good, I donated all your old toys, too.
Not my rubber ducky!
So those were some turtle tips.
Yes, still relevant.
And they are
tips.
still relevant. Absolutely.
For sure. So most of the plots of these episodes in these early seasons revolve around Shredder and Krang and all the bad guys, the Foot Clan.
Yeah.
Trying to defeat the Turtles / take over the world. Most of the time this involves using the Technodrome or trying to get it to the Earth's surface. It's always stuck in some location. It's under the city, or it's at the bottom of the ocean, or it's in Dimension X, or it's frozen in the Arctic. It's always somewhere, and it never works. But one of the best parts as you go on into the show is you get all these crazy characters, and I'm sure not in small part motivated by their desire to sell more toys.
Sure. 100%.
In these early seasons, you get introduced to the Punk Frogs, which are 4 mutated frogs that Shredder creates originally to fight the Turtles, but then they realize they were manipulated and become good guys. And I actually just watched this episode this afternoon.
Yeah?
Because I just put some on to kind of prep myself, and I watched this. They're named after, so the Turtles are named after Renaissance painters that
right?
Splinter admired. So Shredder names them after people he admires. So there's like Attila the Frog and Genghis Frog, Napoleon. So they're all like generals. And
now those don't they have toys of them?
Sure, yeah.
Do you have those?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah. One of my favorite. So I had totally forgotten. I guess I hadn't forgotten. I remember the Punk Frogs mostly from the toys. I'd seen the episode,
sure, when
I was a kid,
years ago,
but I didn't really remember what they sounded like. But they have Southern accents, and they kind of
because
they're from Florida. They're from Florida, and they have Southern accents, and they kind of sound like the
Florida, the Deep South.
The Deep South, They sound like the woodland critters from South Park. They're always they're kind of like they sound like hayseeds. They're kind of like it's like. Come on, guys. I don't know. I think that Shredder. I think he's a pretty nice guy.
Oh my god! So basically, the voice that I do when I get real country.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, sidebar, in that episode, you also get to hear Krang say the word Okefenokee because he tells them where to go in Florida. So I highly recommend seeking that episode out. You also get Casey Jones, who is a Dirty Harry style vigilante, wears a hockey mask, fights. Casey Jones is actually a much bigger character in the comics and later in the movies. I was blown away to know he only appears in 5 episodes of the cartoon.
Only 5?
Only 5.
Like,
he was one of the, to me, I remember him as one of the main characters, but I guess I'm remembering the movie.
You remember the movie.
I mean, the toy is kind of iconic.
Yeah. I guess so.
Yeah, only
crazy.
5 episodes, and he wears a hockey mask and beats up people with hockey sticks and bats. And
he was always a bit handsome to me.
Right, and in the show, he doesn't have kind of the connections with the gang as he does in the comics and in the movies. In the comics and the movies, he kind of has a relationship with April.
Yeah, which they definitely.
Him and Raphael become really close. They become like really good friends.
Okay.
But they don't really explore that in the TV show.
Okay.
More in these other mediums. You also have one of my favorites, which is not a Ninja Turtles creation, was actually a crossover from another Mirage comic. Usagi Yojimbo.
Oh,
who is the interdimensional samurai rabbit.
Sure, why not?
Love Usagi Yojimbo. Some classic action figures as well, and a great series of episodes. You also get like these kind of B and C tier characters. One of my favorites, Muckman and Joe Eyeball, the like kind of sentient pile of trash.
I don't remember that one.
Another great action figure, Mondo Gecko, Bugman, Scumbug, all these. You get and then you get another sort of tier of villains, of course. So, you get the occasional break from Shredder and Krang.
Yeah,
and
I was
Bebop
asking my husband that last night, or the other night when we were watching them. I was like, man, I of course there's Shredder and Krang and Bebop Rocksteady. Not that they're like enemies necessarily. They just, they're doing all the dirty work. But I was like, do they ever have like more villains? And he was like, oh yeah, there's like a ton. But I guess I just didn't remember all of them.
Yeah, you get the Rat King is kind of another one of these big sort of B tier villains who is like a kind of a crazy homeless man who controls armies of rats and wants to replace humanity with rats because he thinks they're the superior species or something.
Okay.
You had Leatherhead, who is a mutated alligator, and he fights the.
Oh, I think I remember that. I feel like I remember a mutated alligator.
He was like a Cajun alligator. He was. He come from Louisiana.
He a Cajun gator.
He a Cajun gator gonna come up there. Them New York schools get down throttled. That was horrible. I'm so sorry to anyone who's listening to this who lives on the Gulf Coast. I'm so sorry for the horrible Cajun accent I just did.
Oh God.
You also. Yeah.
Clear that out.
You also have Slash, kind of the evil turtle. Big, dumb, strong, mutated turtle. Loves his binky, which is a little pink palm tree that used to be in his little bowl when he was a little turtle.
Oh, that makes me a little sad.
Metalhead's a robot turtle that Shredder creates. And then, like all the comic stories, you have to have mobsters.
Sure.
Don Turtelli.
People were obsessed with mobsters during this time period.
Yeah.
The Dick Tracy movie and stuff. Yeah.
You also get Wingnut and Screw Loose and Ground Chuck, Dirtbag, Chrome Dome. There's a whole. It goes on and on.
Motley crew we have here.
Yes. So it kind of we kind of just move along at a pace of the turtles fighting the various villains.
Yeah.
And doing their thing for the first 7 seasons, and it isn't until season 8 in 1994 where you really see some changes. Like there are some drastic changes to the show that started in 1994 and would last for what would be the last 3 seasons of it. So they toned the humor down a lot more.
Really?
It's much more serious. It's more action oriented. And these are kind of like the Red Sky. They call this kind of the Red Sky era because like all the animation, like the sky was always red.
Oh.
And you're gonna hate this. They redid the song.
No.
They redid the intro, splicing in clips from the live action movie, which is amazing, but it's weird.
Why do you mess with perfection? Like.
So I say we take a listen to
I guess
the theme song beginning with season 8 in 1994.
If we must. I don't like it.
That's your verdict.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. There's way too much electric guitar.
Not enough synthesizer.
Not enough synth. They slow down the lyrics. They don't talk about the turtles individually and what they do. There's.
I don't. How am I supposed to know who does machines?
I don't know, Justin, because they didn't tell me in the theme song.
Who's a party dude? I mean,
Who? I
need to know these things.
I hated it.
You need to remind me. So you get this.
Yeah,
new
they were
song.
clearly trying to like make it.
It was very 90s
edgier.
by this point.
Oh God, very.
It was much more 90s than 80s at this point. Plus, you get a new big villain. You get Lord Dreg, who kind of takes the place of Shredder and Krang and all of these. Shredder and Krang are then.
I'm so sorry that every time we say Krang, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it's only going to be a few more times. Hopefully.
Yep.
You do get them back later on. So seasons 8, 9, and 10, you have these storylines going on with Lord Dreg. You get Shredder and Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady involved. Until the end, when they have the final big battle and banish... spoiler alert. They banish Shredder, Krang, and Lord Dreg to Dimension X for good. And Splinter says, you know, you're no longer my pupils. We're now equals. Oh. You've defeated everyone, you know. So November 2nd, 1996, the final episode of this original series airs.
The end of an era.
193 episodes.
Yeah, that's a lot. I was surprised.
And even though the show ends in November of 1996, that's not the last time we see this iteration of the Turtles. We will see them again in 2009. So Fox had another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series that ran from 2003 to 2009, which is really, really good, by the way. It was made in conjunction with Mirage, and so it's a little more in tone with the comics, so it's a little darker, less humor, but it's still kid friendly.
Still for kids, okay.
It's a really good series. I have not seen all of it, but it's really good.
Okay.
And this concludes in 2009 with a movie, which was the 25th anniversary of the Ninja Turtles. Aww. And the movie's called Turtles Forever. If you've not seen Turtles Forever, I would highly recommend it.
I have not.
So what they do is, what they do is kind of a Into the Spider-Verse thing before Spider-Verse. Where you have all these different iterations of the Turtles. You know, you have kind of these connections between different worlds. So, of course, you have the 2003 series. That's the main storyline. But then you get the 1987 Turtles, the original series Turtles involved, and then you get the original Mirage Comics Turtles involved. So it's like Turtles from different worlds kind of mixing with each other, sort of like Spider-Verse. It's a lot of fun. I would highly recommend it. And those characters would also make several appearances in... So Nickelodeon took over the franchise.
Yeah, I knew that Nickelodeon had it now.
Which is... Yeah, and they're on their second series.
Oh, okay.
They ran they had a CG animated series.
Okay,
that began in 2012.
Okay.
Which is not the current... I believe the current one is called Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I wonder why they changed it.
I don't... It's a totally different show, different animation.
Oh, okay.
But these 1987 versions of the Turtles also make several appearances throughout that 2012 series. They sort of do that same sort of Spider-Verse thing. And
sort of thing. That's cool.
Yeah. So, you know, those are kind of... While it's not exactly... I feel like it's still canon. These 1987 original animated Turtles are still kind of canon, even though they're so drastically different from the source material with the Mirage Comics. But they have kind of figured out ways over the years of sort of bringing that into the fold and making it... Because, I mean, frankly, for a lot of people, I think these are the definitive versions of the Turtles.
Yeah, certainly for people our age.
Yeah, and maybe that's blasphemy for some. You know, I'm sure there are lots of purists who say, you know, the definitive version is the comic version, and that's not wrong.
Yeah.
Or maybe the movie versions are the definitive version. For me, growing up when we grew up, and being the age that we were during this sort of these Turtle Mania years, you know, the late 80s and early 90s, this will always be, for me, the definitive version of the Turtles. The series, in conjunction with the action figures, there was just such a huge... That's what I think of when I think of the Ninja Turtles. And I think a lot of other people do, too. It was a giant pop culture phenomenon. It obviously spawned countless, merchandise and breakfast cereals and
it was just
anything
everywhere
you could
on
think
everything.
of.
Yeah.
You know, they had concert tours, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a later episode, which I do own on VHS, coming out of our shells.
Oh, thank God.
The concert tour,
Coming out of our shells is what it's called.
The Coming Out of Our Shells tour.
Oh my God.
There's a really great where they go on the Oprah Winfrey show to promote. And
I've seen that clip.
It's one of the more awkward things I've ever watched. But this is all beside the point. You know, this show was huge. I mean, when it ended, it was it was the longest running animated series of all time. Of course, that only really lasted for 2 years, and then The Simpsons overtook it.
Sure.
As The Simpsons overtook everything. But you know, this was a really big influential series.
Yeah.
And I think still for me as a 30-something-year-old guy, still one of my favorite animated series of all time. Like certainly top 5. And this was like formative stuff for me, right?
Yeah. Well, I do like that they have kept redoing it in a sense and adding more to the to the story because then it allows younger generations to experience it in their own way, form their own what will be nostalgic memories. And of course, you know, if you're a kid and you start watching the 2012 version and then you realize, oh no, there's like a couple other shows like that are older, like this has been around for so long and now I could like go back and watch it because everything's pretty much on streaming of some kind, you know, maybe not this, but you know, like maybe the 2003 one and the movies and stuff like that, and so they can find something. And
I know it's a lot of ways, you know, for people our age who have kids. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a bonding thing. It's, you know, this was important to me as a kid, and now it's important to our kids,
right?
Because it's something they're into since they're the age we were back then.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that's kind of interesting because you would think something that is, you know, I mean, when you break it down, it's weird. Like it's like
a very weird thing.
It's a strange concept. It's very weird. It seems like it would be of its time, and that it wouldn't hold up. It wouldn't stand the test of time. And maybe not all of the animated series does stand the test of time.
Right. But the concept clearly does because it's still so popular in its, you know, new iterations. It's so popular.
You know, you go to Walmart and Target right now in 2021, you're going to see Ninja Turtle stuff.
Yep.
You know, it may not be entire aisles like it was in 1988
that's probably
or 89.
More due to there just being more things out there.
There's just a lot of just a lot of stuff, but yeah, that's very much still a thing.
Yeah.
And then of course you had all the imitators. One of my just favorite things as we get into covering these topics is all the imitations that come up when something becomes sort of organically like really popular. Of course, you have tons of imitators coming up, and Ninja Turtles was no different with these cartoons designed to essentially sell toys. You had tons of imitators. You had Street Sharks and Battletoads and Biker Mice from Mars and Samurai Pizza Cats, which
another
that one
Arctic Monkeys song title. Yeah. Street Sharks, I think, is the only one I remember of those.
I remember all the ones I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Now I don't remember a lot of details, but I remember them existing, and I remember the toys and the cartoons.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Once we really start, like we're starting off with some big topics here. You know, the Ninja Turtles, that's a big topic.
Yeah.
Snick, that's a big topic. Once we get 100 episodes into this thing, if it goes that long, you know, we're going to be doing an hour on Samurai Pizza Cats.
Yeah, and you guys are going to listen. The 5 of you that are still listening in 5 years, you're going to
get ready for that.
You're going to be in it for the Samurai Pizza Cats.
Yeah, it's just going to be the hardcores. It's just going to be the hardcore fans. Yeah. That's all that's left.
Well, Justin, do you have anything else you want to add before we end our show with a little fun bit?
I say we get into the fun bits.
Okay.
This whole thing's been a fun bit for me, frankly.
The whole thing's been a fun bit. I completely agree.
But I want to find out what turtle I am before we sign off and say goodbye to the animated series, at least for now.
Yes. And I'm going to find out what turtle I am. So we each have the same quiz, which is, of course, which of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are you? Now, this is just the main 4. So I believe we've got...
there's no April O'Neil, there's no Shredder or
no.
Splinter or
just
Krang.
which of the core gang?
The big four.
The big four. So
John, Paul, George, and Ringo.
Sure. You want to go back and forth on these questions here, and we'll just
let's get it started.
All right. It's Saturday night. What are you doing? Playing video games? Reading a book? Partying somewhere? Hitting the 24-hour gym so you work on your hashtag gains? That made me sick to say it.
I hated that.
I did too.
I guess I'm going to playing video games. That's probably the most
Okay,
likely.
I'm going with reading a book. I'm going to end up being Leonardo, aren't I?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, God.
You're kind of a goody two-shoes. You like words, as the Cool Kids Club theme song reminds everyone. Mm-hmm. Okay, next question. What is your preferred choice of transport? Understated car, nothing fancy. Mm-hmm. A big SUV or truck. A bus or train or public transport. Mm-hmm. Or a motorbike.
Okay.
I think for me, just understated car.
Yeah.
I've never been really a fancy...
Yeah. I mean,
big car guy.
If turtle van is not an option, then I guess I'm going...
Well, clearly, I mean, yeah, turtle van or turtle blimp, but that's not on the list, so...
Yeah. Which, doesn't seem legit, but okay, understated car.
Whatever.
Someone is attempting to start a fight with you. There's going to be a rumble. What do you do? Kick their ass? They started it. Devise an ingenious way of turning their argument around on them. Crack a joke to lighten the mood, or calmly walk away.
I'm probably going to crack a joke to lighten the mood, and then probably wither.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to go with that as
well.
well.
There'll be a lot of withering, but since that's not an option, I guess I'll crack a joke first.
I'll try to bring some levity.
Yeah, before I crumble. Uh-huh. All right, next question. You have to eat one food for the rest of your life. What is it? Burger and chips.
This must be
What kind of limey website have you got me on here? I assume they mean French fries.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, UK fans. I adore the UK.
Yes. Me.
And your chips. Okay, so burger and chips, noodles, pizza, or salad.
It's pizza.
It's pizza, right? I mean, it's
I'd like to
clearly
eat
not
salad for the rest of my life. Jesus Christ.
Like, I mean, salad's fine, but for the rest of my life, the only
that's
thing.
it?
No, thanks. I'm not a rabbit.
No. Ooh.
Like Usagi Yojimbo.
Pick a color. Blue, purple, orange, or red.
Well, I mean, of these four colors, my favorite's blue, but I know...
You know what that means.
I don't want to be Leo, so I'm going with purple.
Okay.
Because purple would be my second.
Orange, out of these, just, even though Michelangelo is my favorite, like, that is also my favorite color of those.
Really? Of those colors? Mm-hmm. Orange?
Yeah.
Huh.
I like
Big
it.
UT fan?
No. Really green's my favorite. And pink.
Well, and they're all green, so...
They're all green, exactly.
It's
they're
a
all my favorite color.
win-win-win for you.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your idea of a perfect holiday? Lots of landmarks and museums, sunning by the pool or at the beach,
Okay.
a bit of everything, or an active adventure holiday.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Oh, that sounds horrible. Active adventure holiday?
Oh, so many opportunities to break something on an active adventure holiday. And
you do find ways to do that. I'm going with landmarks and museums because I'm a nerd and I like that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, you do. I'm going to go with a bit of everything.
I worked in museums, so I got to go to the museum.
Well, yeah. I'd like to do some of that, but I'd also like to do a little bit of sunning by a pool or a beach.
Sure. I mean, I don't mind the beach or the pool. I love that too.
What kind of music do you regularly listen to? I love the picture that accompanies this, by the way. They're all in, like, cool jackets and sneakers with a boombox.
Cool jackets, no pants.
No. Well, they're not needed.
With a boombox. Well, I feel like if they have the jackets on, like either wear clothes or don't.
It's a bit of a Winnie the
They're Winnie the Pooh in it with no pants on it. Yeah. No one can see this picture, so it's really great. It makes for really great podcast listening, I'm sure.
Okay, kinds of music. Hip hop, R&B, classical, hard rock or metal, or whatever's in the charts. These aren't great options.
Those are my choices, huh?
Yep.
I guess for me, out of those four, I'm going hip hop, R&B.
Okay.
I would listen to the most.
I'm probably going to do, I guess, whatever's in the charts, because I listen to more like pop and indie.
Yeah, you're basic.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to be Leonardo.
Okay, the foot soldiers are attacking. Choose your weapon. Ooh. We've got nunchucks. We've got sai knives, swords, and stick. Not bow staff, stick.
Yeah. I'm going with the sai knives because those are the coolest.
Yeah, for me it's either sai knives or nunchucks, but I think I'm going to go with the sais.
Okay. What kind of films do you like? Comedy, action, drama, or horror? I can't imagine which one you'll choose.
Well, clearly I'm going horror.
I mean, I like literally all of those, but I'm going to choose comedy.
Okay. All right, final question. You ready? Mm-hmm. You can live anywhere. Where would you live? Anywhere that's near a decent gym.
What a sad life.
Penthouse apartment in the city. Anywhere that's got good Wi-Fi. Or secluded, tranquil place out in the country. I think I'm going secluded, tranquil place out in the country, though I would really prefer if it had good Wi-Fi.
That's actually
like
what I don't need
to. I don't need to see anyone in person. Frankly.
Yeah.
Like I just be able to turn the world off when I can just disconnect my Wi-Fi and just be alone. But I'm going to secluded, tranquil place. That's me.
Okay, I'm gonna do anywhere that's got good Wi-Fi because honestly, like I'm not leaving my house much.
And that's it. Let's see.
All right, calculating results.
Oh yes.
What'd you get?
What did you get? You go first.
I got Michelangelo.
Oh, that's your I got Donatello, my favorite.
That's your favorite.
I do machines, and that's a fact, Jack.
Yep, and I'm a party dude.
You are a party dude.
I mean,
everyone knows it.
Yeah,
everyone knows it.
Everyone knows it. You know
Notorious
it. I know
party
it.
dude,
the
Amy.
American people know it. Everybody knows.
Well, we are America's favorite siblings.
That is so true.
Yes. All right. Well, that was very satisfying.
It was.
Good to know that I'm the nerd turtle that is actually my favorite.
Mm-hmm. I really am nothing.
I was always a Donatello guy.
Yes, you always were.
Always.
I do like Raphael too.
I mean, frankly, yeah.
They're all great.
Yeah, they're all great.
Yeah.
Leo can't be your favorite, though.
No, you're a cop.
No, we've already covered that.
Well, I had a great time doing this episode.
This was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed getting this episode together, revisiting this show. It was I thought a lot of fun.
Yeah. I hope you all had a good time listening to us today. Let's do some shout outs. Justin, you have another podcast that you do. I
have an occasional wrestling podcast. If you're into wrestling, it is called Blue Barred Cage, and you can find us at Blue Barred Cage on Instagram, on Twitter. We don't do it as much as we would like, but we try to do it occasionally.
Yeah. So
if you're into wrestling, Blue Barred Cage.
And you have several episodes that people could go back and listen to.
We've got about 100, little over 100 episodes.
Yeah.
So we got lots of backs. If you're into classic wrestling, especially 80s and 90s stuff, which I'm sure we'll cover some of that at some point on this show.
Sure.
But if you're into the more specifics, check out Blue Barred Cage. We've got years worth of episodes.
Yeah. And I have a YouTube channel called Amy Reads, where I, as you could guess it, talk about books. And you can find me on YouTube at Amy Reads. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at Amy Reads TN. And my name is spelled AIMEE. Justin can be found on Twitter and Instagram at Lousy with Ghosts. And we also wanted to thank the composer and writer and singer of our theme song, Mr. Brian Wakefield. Brian is the best. We love him. And he made that catchy tune that is probably stuck in your heads right now.
Yes. Thank you, Brian.
Yes.
Do we have... I think that's it.
Did we mention
the Cool Kids Club pod?
We didn't.
On Instagram. If you don't follow us on social media, Instagram in particular, we're very active on. We are at Cool Kids Club Pod on Instagram, also on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook if you search Cool Kids Club Podcast.
Yes.
And assuming if you've listened to this far, you have found the episode. But in case you need help, Cool Kids Club pod.com, also Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast.
Yep. All right. Well, I just want to say Cowabunga, dude.
Cowabunga to you, ma'am.
And I'll see you next time.
Turtle power, guys. Turtle power.